tactic there of Trump saying no State of the Union, or Pelosi saying no State of the Union. And I think that it is really kind of effective, and it shows you that Pelosi's A, not playing around, and B, that Trump needs to make that priority that priority number one, pass some sort of I guess a stopgap measure, and possibly work from there. That would be the right procedure of action. I think that would be very important. Ending the shutdown should be the number one priority.
Right, and I think that's what she was saying, and she used the excuse that there was a security issue with so many high-level officials in the House chamber. I'm sure the Secret Service could have handled it, but she used it as an excuse to sort of not invite the president to give the speech there.
Yeah, and I think that could be that's a very effective political strategy. I don't think you see very many Democrats complaining, but it is definitely a move that we're not used to seeing Nancy Pelosi or any Democrat in power making. That is for sure. In casting the plan as a compromise, the president sought to shift pressure to Democrats who have repeatedly refused to give Trump any money for the wall to end the shutdown. But Democrats continue to insist that they will not negotiate with Trump until border security until the government reopens. So, that deal on his face that Trump put out yesterday, would you consider that a compromise? Because it kind of, I really would not consider it a compromise. I consider it a very Republican-sided deal, and it's definitely a deal that's going to have to do really have a lot of negotiation into it before it gets passed, because I would not call that a compromise. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it was something. It's better than nothing, but like we said before, it's just undoing the things that he shut down, and like you said, it's still temporary. It only lasts for 3 years, and then we're back where we were. There's still no comprehensive immigration reform happening. This isn't going to solve it. And the more immediate problem is the government, and that needs to be addressed as soon as possible.
Yeah, I really think it's hard to. I think it's hard to make a case that you're going to see that. It's hard to make the case that that is a compromise, because again, there's really so little substantive action being taken. Change it. And it's not you make a real change here when it's a change that it's can be so easily undone, and I think we really need to do that. It's solid. If we're really going to negotiate immigration reform, it should be solid immigration reform that lasts for 25 plus years, so we don't have to come back to this every 5 years when the right has a problem with it or wants to use it as a political issue to motivate a certain part of their base. And I think it's a very important thing to realize there. So, yeah, he sought to, over the course of his administration, Trump has repeatedly sought to curb both legal and illegal immigration. He has revoked Temporary Protected Status, or TPS, which offers crucial protections for immigrants from people from some Latin American and African countries, and he's also moved to rescind the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, or DACA, an Obama-era program that shielded young undocumented immigrants, known as Dreamers, from deportation. So yeah, that's the deal he outlined on Saturday. Trump offered to restore TPS protection for 3,000 people and said he would allow more than 700,000 Dreamers to keep their protection for more than 3 years in exchange for a $5.7 billion border barrier. So yeah, that's the plan, and Trump added that he wanted to break the logjam and provide Congress with a path forward. So yeah, that's where we are right now, and now that Pelosi has rejected it, where do you see the negotiations going from here?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't see the president sweetening his immigration deal, and I suspect that he's going to use the Democrats' refusal to work with his compromise as a reason to create an emergency national crisis. That thing that he was considering doing a few weeks ago. I think he's going to end up doing that. And the Democrats are going to sue him. It's going to go to the federal court, and they'll probably get a judge to block it. And then at some point, Trump is going to say, "Well, I tried my best. and now I have to reopen the government. He's probably going to have to put on a good face that he tried really hard to get his wall, and his supporters are going to have to be satisfied with the attempt rather than its success. And I think eventually the president's going to have to crumble and reopen the government.
Yeah, so you think like a national emergency, though, if you were to declare that, and that's something that I have seen as probably one of the most likely outcomes, just to break the like impassable logjam, like that probably would very easily be challenged and defeated in the courts, like go in the way of like the travel ban, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty easily shot down because he can't really make an argument that it's an emergency if he's put it off for so long. An emergency is something you have to act on immediately, and obviously he didn't do it, and so it's not an emergency.
Yep, and I guess you could very easily say that. And like the statistical case that it is a national security emergency is also just really not there. Like the facts and the fact-based evidence. It's hard to call something a crisis, as I keep saying. That is getting better, and the problem of illegal immigration is going down year over year. And the fact that some people are saying like the crisis at the border, like that does imply that things are getting worse when they are in fact getting better, just like statistically speaking. I think that's the important thing to realize there. So yeah, a national emergency could be very interesting, and I think that would be really the only way to for Trump to get past the base and the really tough wall that the base does provide. So yeah, but still, at this moment though, Trump is taking aim at Nancy Pelosi amid the stalled shutdown allegations, saying that Nancy Pelosi and some Democrats turned down my offer yesterday before I even got up to speak. They don't see crime and drugs. They only see 2020, which they're not going to win. Best economy. They should do the right thing for the country and allow people to go back to work. And that's a very interesting thing. We've got people going really who are like just completely normal people all of a sudden, just based on this border wall, have been forced to kind of line up in food banks. They really kind of had to take out life savings, get loans, all that stuff. How do you see that kind of impacting the next few years politically? Like, what will the feelings be like? Do you think that that kind of suffering has like massive staying power? How's this thing with the federal workers going to change the political landscape, if at all?
It could have some effects. I mean, we're talking about 800,000 employees, and then there's a ripple effect throughout the economy because these 800,000 people don't have any buying power, so other businesses suffer. So yeah, I can maybe see there being a political hit for this, and judging by how slim President Trump's margins were in his election victory in 2016, I don't think he can spare too many votes.
Yeah, that's for sure. I do wonder though, like how many of them did vote. I would say like a pretty fair portion. Like the guys in the TSA, like I'm sure they were a little bit more likely to vote for Trump. But again, it's just really incredible how big the federal government is, and when we see this happen, it's tough to. It really gets a sense of like what the government does and performs every day, like whether it be the IRS, the TSA, to the like air traffic control, keeping our planes in the sky. And there's a very interesting case made in a open letter released by some federal workers who are calling for a strike by federal workers, at least some of the federal workers and some agencies that are very critical. That would really force Trump and just Democrats in general to pay attention to what was going on and possibly move to reopen the government in some sort of way. And do you think there is a case for a strike? I mean, I said last night, I was thinking just like this is probably, of all the cases possibly for a strike, this has to be the best right now, because you can't really ask people to continue working without getting paid. And I think it is a legally allowed thing. I think it's something that they should definitely consider doing it. It's no way quicker, really, to end the inaction over this issue.
Yeah, I think that it's either illegal for TSA agents or then or the people who monitor the flights. What are they called? You just mentioned it.
I think air traffic controllers.
The air traffic controllers. I think it's illegal for them to go on strike, but of course they could still do it. There might be some repercussions for them, obviously, but it certainly would force the president's hand, because you can't shut down the air and expect there to be no repercussions on the economy.
Yeah,
that would be crazy. So yeah, that's a possibility. I think it would the shutdown would have to last a bit longer, maybe through a few more pay cycles before.
Yeah, realistically,
that might happen, but it's possible.
Yeah, especially in an era like that we live in today. Like, who knows what could be happening? And I think that's a very interesting thing to keep an eye on there. Yeah, so on CBS's Face the Nation on Sunday, Vice President Mike Pence declined to elaborate on whether Trump's tweet meant he was leaving the door open to amnesty, when he said it is a 3-year extension of DACA. Amnesty will be used on only a much bigger deal, whether immigration or something else. Likewise, there will be no big push to remove the 11 million plus people who are here illegally. Be careful, Nancy. Warning Nancy there. But he did say that, he said, I'll let the president's word stand. But he said Trump's absolutely determined to build 234 miles of additional steel barrier along the U.S.-Mexico border, in which the White House outlined in a letter to lawmakers last month. So yeah, that is what he did. Really pull off a big move by on the eve of MLK Day. He invoked the legacy of the late civil rights leader, noting that he inspired us to change through the legislative process to become a more perfect union. So yeah, I wonder what Martin Luther King would have thought of this current situation that we're in. I don't think he would have thought very highly. Just a thought there. He would have liked that. Jackie Spire shot back in a tweet saying that Trump is no MLK, and the vice president owes an apology to the country and a King's memory. I mean, it's not too far off there, because using King's legacy to push that would be a little bit ridiculous. Yeah, so still, I mean, I think the main outlook here is the outlook that we've been seeing for the past almost month now. Things continue, and there's no... people continue to go without pay, and there's no really end in sight on the shutdown, as there has been for a long time. Would you agree with that assessment? Or?
I would, but I don't think it will last that much longer. If it lasts another month, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think we're getting to a breaking point, which is good for these workers. That like something really possibly might be able to change. So, yeah. We now turn to the media and BuzzFeed News. They're facing a lot of new scrutiny after Robert Mueller denied a dramatic new Trump report. It really kind of burnt up the airwaves. Glenn, would you mind kind of giving people the lowdown about what happened with this kind of a BuzzFeed report here, BuzzFeed News, about what was going on with the Mueller ordering, Trump ordering Mueller to lie to, Cohen to lie to Congress?
Yeah, so I think it was Thursday evening the BuzzFeed story came out, and it was, of course, quite a bombshell. The headline was something like President Trump directs Michael Cohen to lie to Congress. And the article went on to say that Mueller had learned about the lie, not initially through Cohen, but through witnesses at the Trump organization, that was backed up by emails and texts and a plethora of other documents. I think the intent there was to say that they were from the Trump organization. And then they called Michael Cohen in after that, and he reaffirmed the direction to lie. So that was the BuzzFeed story. And about 24 hours passed, and this guy, Peter Carr, who's a spokesperson for Mueller